So iOS 15 has been out for over a week now, almost 2 weeks. And today we're going to be talking about iOS 15, the follow-up. Every weekend I'm going to be doing a follow-up of iOS 15, how the software runs, everything that's new, and some things that I've found in iOS 15 that I haven't covered on the channel yet. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So let's get right into the new features. So shortcuts actually got a little update. So if I go into shortcuts, this is going to help a lot of people that do shortcuts or that build shortcuts. So if I go to just a random shortcut, like one that has a lot of text or a lot of actions, like for example, this has 42 actions. This has 42 actions. So if I go here, this has a lot of actions. And as you can see, it's kind of glitching because it has so many actions. But what I can do is I can go to a random one and I can I can do the device model. But if I kind of click on it, it'll give me the option to collapse it. Like for example, it gives you the option to collapse it. Like right here, see, collapse. If I push collapse, then it'll show that there are 17 more actions and you can kind of click on it. See, 17 more actions. So you can collapse things in shortcuts to make it easier for you to do things in the shortcuts application when you are building a new shortcut. Another new feature is if you go into your settings, you go to general, and I talked about this in the last video actually. You can go down here, reset, prepare for new iPhone, and this can prepare you for your new iPhone. I'm not going to cover it too much because I covered it in the last video. Go watch last video to see me go in depth on how this feature actually works, but you can push get started. And here's an example. I didn't have this in the last video that I did on this feature, but it says, this is what will happen if you have not synced something to iCloud. It'll say, do you want to use your extra free storage to move data for apps that have not been using iCloud? Data from apps that use sync will appear on any device signed into your iCloud account. You can push move all app data with iCloud. And then it'll give you the pop-up that you're ready. You'll be ready for your new iPhone. Yada 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 that I explained in the last video. You can push done, and it is still not giving me that pop-up that it would give you. I showed you in the last video what it will look like if you get the pop-up. So also inside of the weather application, we got a new update to weather that basically shows you more information. So if I open weather and I go to like New York, for example, as you can see, we have a new animation in the background. New Orleans, we have a new panel in the background, and it shows down here what the high is for today and what the high is and what the low is. It shows that New Orleans is most likely having rain tomorrow, and it just shows a lot of new features and a lot of new information that it didn't show in the previous version of iOS 14.6 and iOS 14 in general. So it'll show you the UV index. It'll show you how the wind is, 9 miles per hour. Rainfall in the last 24 hours. What it feels like, the humidity, the visibility of it, the pressure. And if you want to see a more in-depth thing, you can actually click on this, and it'll show you New Orleans right here, and you can kind of zoom in to see what the high and the low is. As you can see, it'll show you the temperature, how the temperature is going to do, and basically everything you need to know about how the weather is going to be in New Orleans or in wherever you are in the weather application. Now, one of the most underrated iOS 15 features in all of iOS 15 is you go into settings, and then you can go to accessibility right here, and then audio and visual right here, and then background sounds. So background sound, you can use it, you can turn it on, plays background sounds to mask unwanted environmental noise These sounds can minimize distractions and help you focus, calm, or rest. So with background sounds, it takes out the distractions of the background. If you have this on, you can do a bright noise. You can even pick the sound, balance noise. You can turn it up or down. You can use it when media is playing. So this is just an underrated feature because this helps you focus even more with the focus thing, which I'll talk about later in the video. With the focus part of iOS 15, background sounds in iOS 15, focus and background sound in iOS 15 will assure that you will be able to focus, because this plays background sounds to mask unwanted environmental noise. So whatever is happening in the background, this background sounds feature will take that out of the background and play a nice balanced sound. It will play a balanced sound, a bright sound, a dark noise, an ocean, rain, or stream. This is a very cool feature and one of the most underrated features in iOS 15 that I have not talked about on the channel. Speaking of Control Center, if I go into Control Center and I go down to text size right here, the text size, and I go out of settings and I go to the Control Center, you can see text size. You can see it actually shows you the text size like 100. The default is 100. And you can make it to where it's in all apps or home screen, like where you can change the text size and it'll actually tell you the size now. Whereas in iOS 14, it wouldn't tell you the size, and it made things a lot harder. So now you'll know the size that you're making the text in all of your apps. I think this is really cool because this is just going to help a lot of people with the text size and know what a percentage they're making the text size. Like, I can make the text size 135% in all apps, the home screen only. I can make it up to 310%, and you can see how much bigger everything is on the home screen only. So I think this feature is really cool, and you should try it out if you haven't already. Now we actually have an update to the calendar app widget. So if I click on this and I go over here, and this is something people were asking for in iOS 15, and I think this is really going to help people. So as you can see, people were asking for this little calendar. For example, and this will just really help people out because it's not one of the big widgets we used to have on iOS 14. Apple kind of made it a little smaller, and people were asking for this feature or this little widget since iOS 14 came out, and it's pretty cool that they finally put it into iOS 15 Beta 1. Now the next feature is taking a screenshot and drag and dropping and have like iPadOS. So let me show you what I mean. So I can take a screenshot and I can kind of move it. Like, it can be hard at times, and I can move it to something like, let's say I want to move it to my photos. I can go here, go out of my album, and I can save it to my favorites like that. And this is just the screenshot that I just took on my home screen. Or you could take a screenshot, move it like this, and go into messages and send it to I'm going to send it to myself, so I can put it right here and I can just send it to myself. So this is a really cool feature. It makes iOS easier to get photos and stuff like that. Just makes it easier. So you can go into Safari and get an image from there and send it to your friend. This makes it easier to navigate iOS and easier to send your friends pictures on iOS. Now another thing we got in iOS 15 is the new podcast subscriptions. Now this isn't for only iOS 15, this is also for iOS 14. So if I go to new to podcasts, it'll say top charts trending, but right here it says explore subscriptions. So it'll give you all these things that are for subscriptions, but when you try to actually play the episode, it'll say subscribe, $4.99 a month. I think you get a free 7 days. Yeah, look, unlock network of award-winning Luminary originals, 7 days free, then $4.99 a month. So if you want to try this, you can subscribe to it, and it'll give you 7 days to actually try it, and then it'll start charging you $4.99 a month. So that's the new podcast subscription. Now we're going to talk about some bugs that I've encountered in iOS 15. Now, as I said in a previous video, I haven't encountered too many bugs, but there have been some that have really annoyed me and made the experience kind of hard on iOS 15 Beta 1. For example, one time when I was in 3D Touch, I think it was on the Gmail app. Let's see if it's working. It's working now, but the Gmail app, Gmail's 3D Touch was glitching for me on iOS 15 like a few times. Like I had a hard time, I had a hard time going into Gmail, but now I can obviously just go. I've had a few app crashes on different apps. I think I've had an app crash on YouTube, one on Instagram, Facebook. I may have had one on Twitter once or twice. Another thing that is annoying and another bug that I've had on iOS 15 is if I go to the Photos app and I go to For You, wherever Memories, if I go to Memories, which is, where is it? I don't think I have it. If I go to my Memories, which is in Library, so I can't find Memories, but there's this bug that actually makes it harder for you to share it, like if I can find it. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. Now there's categories like art, animals, and stuff like that. But Memories, the issue with Memories is when you try to share a memory of yours, the share button is grayed out, and I've had that issue on iOS 15. So that's an annoying issue. And as I mentioned in a previous video, with FaceTime got a lot of new features, but it also has a lot of bugs, like battery life drains. My device gets really, really hot on the back when I'm in a FaceTime call, so I have to cool it down after. And there's just a lot of bugs with iOS 15 on the FaceTime application. And sometimes with Private Relay, it disconnects and reconnects and says it needs to connect later, and it makes it harder. It makes Safari harder to use on iOS 15. So I hope Apple fixes that in the next beta. Now, battery life. Like has been decent. It's been getting me through the whole day with at least one charge. On iOS 14, I think I got through the whole day with pretty much no problem. And this is on my main drive, so I'm using this every day. I'm using this every day, so not bad for a first beta. But as the betas go on, I believe Apple is gonna really improve on the battery life as performance gets better, as Private Relay gets better, as everything gets better. Battery life is going to get better with it. So now, let's talk about the release date and what's next for Apple on the iOS 15 betas. So if I go into my calendar application, calendar. If I go into calendar, as you can see, today is June 20th. The next beta 2 for developers, I believe it's going to be on the 21st. It can be literally any day of the 21st, but most likely the 21st or the 22nd of next week. Now, for public beta and developer beta 3, I would expect it to be the week of July 6th, either the 6th or the 7th, because the 4th is Independence Day, and then the 5th is Independence Day observed. So that's when we can expect the new betas of iOS 15 Beta 2 Developer Beta and Developer Beta 3 and Public Beta. Now I wanted to talk about some more Apple news we got. Aside from the software things on iOS 15, remember the MacBook Pro M1 that we were going to get, the M1X that we were going to get that was confirmed to come at WWDC. It's looking like it's going to be a little farther away than we thought. So something came out from Dylan DKT. MacBook Pro 14 and 16 are definitely coming Q4 of 2021, either late October or early November. So in late October or early November, we are getting the M1X MacBook Pros, 14-inch and 16. So I heard they're definitely coming in late October or early November. We also got some information. iMac Pro will also most likely not release at this event, but you can definitely expect the Mac Mini alongside with the new MacBook Pro 14 and 16, all of which will contain the M1X chip. So we will most likely not be seeing the iMac Pro at this event, but we will be seeing the MacBook Pro 14 and 16, all of which will contain the M1X chip. So that's almost all of the news we have about the M1X chip. Now for the Apple Watch Season 7 and 8. Now we got some news on the Apple Watch Season 7 and 8. Now let's talk about that. We also got some information from Mark Gurman from Bloomberg about what we can be seeing from the Apple Watch Series 7 and the 8. For this year's model, Apple has tested thinner display borders and a new lamination technique that brings the display closer to the front cover. The new watch is likely to be slightly thicker overall, but not in a way that's noticeable to the user. So they're testing thinner displays. So it will be thinner, but it won't be noticeable to the user. So they're trying out something new to see how it works, and we can be seeing that again in late October, early November, if I'm correct. Now we got some more information about the Extreme Sports model for Apple Watch. The Extreme Sports model, described by some inside Apple, has either an Explorer or an Adventure edition, which was in development for the release as early as this year, but is now more likely to launch in 2022. That new model would help Apple compete with rugged offerings with players like Garmin Ltd. And Queso Computer Company. So Apple is actually trying to compete with other companies in this by making a new adventure model, the new Explorer and Adventure edition of the Apple Watch for the Sports Edition Apple Watch. Now this is good because Apple Watch is the best watch in the world. A lot of Apple users that have the Apple Watch have said, and I agree because I do actually have an Apple Watch, and it makes life a lot easier day to day because you can get text when you're not on your phone and stuff like that. Now talking about iPhone 13 models, they just got into the Eurasian database, which is good because this happens every year, so it's not much of a surprise. We also got some new information about the iPhone 13, all the models. We are also hearing that all the iPhone 13s will have the LiDAR scanner. They will also have censorship stabilization, which is only on the iPhone 12 Pro model, the big model. So it's good to hear that all the iPhone 13s are getting this feature, or getting this in their camera, in the device. So it's good to hear it's on all the iPhone 13s. So if you're thinking about upgrading to the iPhone 13 later this year, you'll know that you're gonna get these things in the iPhone, which is good to know. And lastly, talking about the iPad mini redesign, this comes courtesy of John Prosser saying that we will get a thinner design. A new iPad mini is set to the flat treatment, so it's going to be thinner and more usable. So this is good to hear because iPad is getting easier and easier to use each year. The iPad mini 6 will probably release this year or next year, like October, late October, early November. When the next Apple event happens, we'll probably be seeing the iPad mini 6 being announced along with the MacBook Pro 14-inch and 16-inch. So there you have it, guys. That's my 2-week review of iOS 15. Also with the latest Apple leaks and rumors. So if you did come to enjoy this video and want to see more like this on the channel, be sure to subscribe. subscribe, like,